feel that you're not as good as the next person. And my very first time that I experienced that inferiority was when I went to school when I was in grade 1. Because we had a school in our community, and I didn't go to that school because my parents knew that it was going to close at Christmas time, so they sent me to a public school in a neighboring community. And so from September to December, I went to the public school, and I was the only native kid in the school. So I experienced a lot of name-calling, a lot of racism, and a lot of other stuff. And that was my very first experience with it. And I used to fight every day. And that's where the anger started to come out. And the second one that sits in the south is envy. And envy is when you want something, but you don't want to work together. You want to give it to you. And a lot of times what happens in our community is that's how bullying starts. Because instead of working to get something, a bully will go and they'll take it. They'll feed off the weaker people, and they'll take things that the weaker people have. And that was the second negative feeling or emotion. And the third one in the West is resentment. Resentment is a reaction to something that somebody says or does to you. And you usually react in hurt or pain, or you want to get even. And when I was drinking, what used to happen was, people used to tell me I was talking about a drunk, my first reaction was to lash out in aggression and punch them out, and take out that anger. So I showed that resentment. And then uncaring is when you don't care for anything. You don't care for yourself or anything else around you. And when I used that alcohol and drugs, I was the most uncaring person, because I didn't care who I hurt to get the drink that I needed or the fix that I needed. And so the one that's in the very middle is jealousy, and that's the strongest of those negative feelings and emotions. When I drank and drugged, I reached that point where I lost my family, my marriage broke down, my kids were split up, and I lost everything. And I was practically living on the street. And I was jealous of what everybody else had and I didn't have. And so I didn't think anybody cared for me. I didn't think anybody, there was no hope, was the way I felt. And so I fed all of these things, these 5 negative feelings and emotions, every time I drank and every time that I used prescription drugs. So when I would do that, my self-esteem got lower and lower and lower. And I reached the point, like Richard talked about yesterday, I reached that point where I thought about committing suicide. And I tried it, but I wasn't successful. And I believe I wasn't successful because the Creator had something else in mind for me. And so after reaching that rock bottom and starting to make the changes that I did, I needed something in my life. And I talk about these 7 grandfather teachings to those kids today. And I told you for a period in my life, for a while, I listened to what my mother was saying. I listened to and then I stopped as soon as I started to use the alcohol or the drugs. So I didn't listen anymore because I thought I knew it all. I thought I was a big shot. I used to do things, I used to try to be popular and be the life of the party. And everybody knew I worked and everybody knew I had money, so lots of people would party with me because, it's the way it is. So when I decided I was going to change, I needed to look at those negative feelings and emotions, and I needed to start to put something more positive in my life. And then what the elders talked about was those 7 grandfather teachings that Richie talked about. You know, I do it, I reach on this side. That's the life I was living, where I was disrespectful. I was dishonest. I lied. I hated all of those negative things that I could possibly know. And I too, I'm like Richard and a lot of other people, I believe that we were born with these 7 grandfather teachings when we come into the world.